Picture yourself standing before an ancient statue of Shiva. 3 arms, 3 legs, a powerful figure representing something far beyond the physical. It's a form rich in symbolism, but today I invite you to look deeper, not just at the spiritual meaning, but at the profound lessons in logic that this image offers us, specifically triadic logic. Now you may ask, why triadic logic? We are used to thinking in binaries, black and white, on and off, yes and no. Binary logic is a simple and effective tool, but it misses a crucial dimension, the interconnection of multiple elements. Triadic logic expands this view, giving us the ability to understand relationships that involve 3 elements that are not only connected, but also influence one another in rich, dynamic ways. And there is no better visual metaphor for this concept than the depiction of Shiva. The triadic nature of balance and interdependence. Let's begin with the Trimurti, the holy triad of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, representing creation, preservation, and destruction. Here we see a perfect example of coexistence. These forces do not operate independently. Creation has no purpose without preservation, and preservation is meaningless without destruction to allow for renewal. In triadic logic, this is what we call coexistence, where each element in the triad is in a state of balance, constantly influencing the others, just like Shiva's 3 limbs, each one essential to maintaining the structure of the whole. This is a key lesson. Nothing stands alone in this interconnected framework. It all thrives or collapses together. Yet this relationship isn't static. It's also reinforced by continuous movement. Creation leads to preservation, which ultimately requires destruction for something new to be created. This reinforcement is circular, much like the cosmic dance of Shiva, where the movement of one limb influences the others in a rhythmic, cyclic flow. Temporal aspects and triadic relationships. Shiva also embodies past, present, and future. Another triad, and one that reveals a different dimension of triadic logic, causality. The present exists because of the past, and the future emerges from the present. Yet, if you remove the past, if there's no past, then you can't have a future. This is not a simple linear chain of cause and effect. It's what we call a causal triad in triadic logic. It's the idea that these temporal elements are causally dependent on each other, and the absence of one impacts the others. But this is where triadic logic's brilliance really shines, through feedback. We can reinterpret the past based on the future. Imagine a decision you made years ago. At the time, it seemed trivial, but now, seeing its results, that past decision takes on new meaning. This retrospective process reminds us that the relationship between time's elements is not linear, but cyclical, where the future and past continuously redefine each other through the present. The 3 gunas and non-linear interactions. Let's shift now to the 3 gunas, sattva, which is purity, rajas, meaning activity, and tamas, representing inertia. These qualities are present in everything and everyone, and they interact in ways that are far from predictable. This is where we see non-linear dynamics at play. Imagine an increase in rajas, or activity. You might expect it to counter tamas, or inertia, but it can also fuel it, creating exhaustion and slowing everything down. In triadic logic, this is described by a non-linear interaction, where an increase in one element doesn't just affect the next in a straight line, but ripples across all 3, often unpredictably, yet ultimately maintaining balance within the system. Body, mind, and soul integration of elements. When Shiva's form is viewed as representing body, mind, and soul, we see another essential concept of triadic logic, harmonic integration. In harmonic triads, 2 elements work together to generate the third. The body and mind, when in sync, give rise to spiritual wellness, represented by the soul. It's a holistic relationship, where each part enhances the others, and this interconnectedness creates a unified state of being. Think of it like this. The health of your body impacts your mind, and a healthy mind enhances your spiritual life. Conversely, the body's illness can affect mental clarity, which in turn might disrupt spiritual peace. Shiva's three limbs, his body, mind, and soul, are harmonized to create a complete being. None can function optimally without the others. Conjoined and bottlenecked interactions. Consider now the journey of spiritual enlightenment, moving from ignorance to knowledge, and finally to realization. In Triadic Logic, this journey is described through conjoined and bottlenecked relationships. These stages are interdependent. You can't have realization without passing through knowledge, and you can't gain knowledge without first emerging from ignorance. But if something is bottlenecked, if you're trapped in ignorance, progress halts. The entire triad depends on the free flow from one stage to the next. This is the dynamic represented by Shiva's three limbs. They must all move forward together. Block one, and the whole process stagnates. The cosmic dance, convergence and divergence. Finally, Shiva's famous cosmic dance represents the grand interplay of convergence and divergence. In the dance, the universe itself is created, destroyed, and preserved in a rhythmic cycle. This is a powerful illustration of convergent logic, where multiple forces come together in harmony to sustain the cosmos. Yet within this convergence is also divergence. Destruction scatters energy, creation pulls it back together, and preservation maintains a delicate balance in between. What Shiva's dance shows us is that in triadic logic, things are not static. There's always movement, energy is dispersed and recollected, but the system's overall harmony persists despite, or perhaps because of, the chaos. Transcendence of dualities. One of the most profound lessons from Shiva's three-limbed form is the transcendence of dualities. Where binary thinking might pit opposing forces against each other, life versus death, good versus evil, triadic logic introduces a third element that integrates and unifies these opposites. This is seen in association and integration, where dualities are harmonized into a greater whole. Shiva, with his three limbs, symbolizes this transcendence. He moves beyond the limitations of simple dichotomies, representing a third balancing principle that brings unity to opposition. Embracing the triads. So, what does all of this mean for us? Why should we care about triadic logic? The symbolism of Shiva with three arms and three legs is not just an ancient myth or spiritual allegory, it's a map for understanding the world around us. In every aspect of life, whether it's time, human experience, or the universe itself, we find these triadic relationships. They teach us that nothing exists in isolation, that the interplay of three forces or elements creates balance, meaning, and progress. In a world that often reduces things to binaries, us versus them, success versus failure, triadic logic offers a richer, more nuanced way of thinking. It allows us to embrace complexity, to see the interdependencies that shape reality, and to recognize that true understanding, like Shiva's cosmic dance, emerges from the integration of multiple forces, not just the opposition of two. This is the lesson of Shiva, the lesson of triadic logic, and a way of thinking that can help us navigate the dynamic, interconnected world we all share.